Hello everybody, my name is Philip, and welcome back to Phasing Forward, where we are going to be talking about episode 4 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And just like last week, I am once again joined by Michelle, aka the voice of Chiaki. How are you doing, Michelle?
Hello, not too bad, thank you. Just a bit. Pre-warning, I had some dry food before the recording, so there might still be a little bit of coughing in me. But I'm fine, it's just food coughing.
Mm-hmm. And, basically we don't have anything. Usually we have like some preamble before we actually jump into the episode. This time around we don't actually have anything, now that I'm thinking about it. Actually, we do have something. Since last week, we've had like a bit more of an update on Zen's laptop, where essentially, the people who she sent the laptop to got back to her, and essentially, they've officially started, repairing the laptop, and it's been a week by now, so hopefully they're close to done, and they should be shipping the laptop to her very soon. At the very least, I can say that Zen will be a part of both the WandaVision series review and the Falcon and Winter Soldier series review. Don't know about episode 5 and the episode 5 and 6 reviews, but we'll just have to see. I don't know if that would work too well, considering the fact that we haven't had Zen on for the entirety of the thing, and for her to just come in at the end, I feel like it does, a bit of a disservice to her opinions, because she'll have to she has I can tell you right now, Zen has so much to say about this goddamn show. She has been messaging me so excited, because oh my god, I love this past episode, and she has so much to say, and I don't want to I don't want to do a disservice to her thoughts about it, and just bring her in for the last episode or two, and she has to recap her entire opinions. And I'm just gonna have to be like, Zen, sorry, but you can't dwell on this stuff. We have to focus on these episodes, because I know if we bring her on, she's gonna be talking about a lot of the stuff from the past episodes. So it's Zen, gotta keep on track. But because of that, she will absolutely be in the Falcon Winter Soldier series review, the overall series review. And that'll mostly be her talking, I presume, because if you've been following this series so far, you'll have heard my opinions. But I think by the end of the series, I'll have more of a tighter opinion on the story as a whole, because there have been certain aspects of the story that I've kind of have to wait to see where they go, and see how how they're executed for me to really grasp a good opinion on. The Flag Smashers, for example, I feel like this episode finally, I finally was able to solidify more of an opinion on them. There's certain other aspects that I want to just wait till the end of the series to see exactly where they go. For example, Sharon, I want to really see, how that story goes, because right now it's one of the parts of the series that I'm not too fond on, but, I already explained most of that in the last episode, and there's not really much else to discuss in this episode, because all we saw of Sharon in this episode was her relaying information to Sam and Bucky, so that was about it. And then there's also the Power Broker. I'll get a little more into that later, but, I don't really have a solid opinion on that right now. But for the most part, jumping into our thoughts on the episode, for the most part, I really fucking love this episode. I say for the most part, but even then, the stuff I didn't like about it was really just, and I wouldn't even say I didn't really like it, these parts. It's just that I feel at this point we have so much different details in the series, so much different stuff going on, that it can be a little overwhelming. But otherwise, it's otherwise the show knows what it's doing, and where to keep the focus. And honestly, I just love the way it executes a lot of this stuff. Episode 4 is by far the best episode so far. I say by far, but the other episodes were still really freaking good. But this episode was just fantastic. Michelle, what do you think?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually did like this episode, and we're going to be talking about the end. But real world surrealness for me, because I sat down, I watched it, I was like, "Whew, that happened," and then I put on my phone and found out the news that Philip had died literally as the credits were still rolling.
Oh god.
That made it that made it quite surreal.
Oh
I
my
was like,
god.
because I did have the moment of like, oh, is this real? But then I noticed it's The Guardian, which, if you don't know, is one of the more reputable newspapers in the UK. I think they try to be more middle ground. I think they're slightly left-leaning, which again makes me more fond of them. But yeah, they are an actual credible news source that people will go, oh, even if you don't like the paper, you respect it. So watching all of that and then reading that, I was like, well, my day's just surreal now.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that happened. But yeah, other than that, I think, yes, lots of thoughts and things. I have a suspicion, although hopefully not too much longer, this might actually be a longer episode, because I think there's actually just more to cover than last week.
Yeah, there is more to cover. There is more to cover, but I also think a lot of the stuff that's like there to cover also really stems a lot from the a lot of the same points. Also, I'll just point out that that's raining in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear it in the background. I know Michelle can't, but if you guys can, then I deeply apologize for that. I can't stop Mother Nature, as Vince McMahon learned at WrestleMania. So I essentially just jumping right into the episode. I love how we just pick up from last time. I love how they've been following on from cliffhangers in this series. You know, cliffhanger of episode 1, John Walker's the new Captain America. Start of episode 2, jumping straight into John Walker. Same case here.
Yeah.
You know, end of episode 3, we show Ao. Start of episode 4, we just jump into Wakanda. We jump into Wakanda from 6 years ago in 2018 and see Bucky finally, you know, being free of the Hydra commands. He's now a free man, and you just see his face, and it's just like that. It's one of my favorite scenes of the episode. It's honestly one of my favorite scenes in the series because just coming down to Sebastian Stan's acting, like holy shit, like it's probably one of his best acted moments ever. Just like, you know, without words, just seeing his facial expression, it's just terrific. Like, it's honest to God, just terrific acting on his part. Yeah, it's not really much to say about it. It's just so damn good. Like,
I cried.
Zen cried as well. I was teary-eyed, but I didn't cry at that part.
I will say, just as a complete sidebar, my connection seems a bit derpy, so I couldn't hear most of what you said, but obviously I got the context. So if it happens again, I'll let you know. Yeah,
no worries.
But yeah, no, that was kind of intense, and you know, like, oh my god, poor James. Like, oh, that's like, oh, bless. Just that emotion of it, and that sort of double look where he had to double check. Yes, that's actually what you said. It's amazing. But I've been kind of watching some. There's a couple of people whose reviews I watch because I watch their reviews in general, and I recently started watching New Rockstars. And one of the things that he pointed out is that moment, by his rough maths, is about maybe a month or two before the invasion of Wakanda by Thanos and all his people, so Bucky barely got any time to just breathe before getting right back into it and then getting dusted. That man needs a hug.
Yeah, like he said, I believe in episode 2. Oh no, in the first episode, where he said, you know, I had, you know, actually, what was it that he said? He had a like.
I can't remember.
I think he said he had a calm in Wakanda. I think I think that's what he said, and you know, and that's exactly it, because like, you know, he wakes up, realizes he's free, and he has just a little bit, like, you know, maybe a few days, maybe a few weeks just to himself, and then bam, all right, Thanos is attacking, you gotta help us out, mate.
Yeah, poor guy. I mean, because someone's mentioned before about the fact that he keeps going through being a Hydra prisoner. He kept going in and out of being under the ice. Of his 106 years, how many has he actually consciously lived? I mean, ignoring
that's
the first,
a good point.
25 to 30. Like, I mean, how old was he when he enlisted? Because he was being about 25.
Yeah, around that. I'd say that mentally at this point he's probably like in his mid to late 30s, maybe closer to yeah, maybe in his 30s, and I don't know, because it's maybe closer to his 40s actually, because you know I'd have to imagine that he was, you know, awake for a lot of periods throughout, you know, throughout the 20th century, but in general, I just love, you know, what this series has done with Bucky, and it's done so much good. And I just want to say that right now because I'm going to be talking about Bucky later, and how he's kind of ignorant in the series. But you know, and I don't mean that like in a, well, I guess I do mean that in I guess a, well, no, I mean that in a bad way, as in like, you know, it's a character flaw, but it's not a flaw with the series. It's a good point of the series. You know, but yeah, the way that they've showed Bucky's trauma in this series has just been just freaking terrific. Yeah, and just heading into the episode itself, we, you know, see the Wakandans. I you know, some people may not like just how much of a, you know, like how, I don't want to say undermined, but like how more minor of a presence they have, but I'm honestly fine with that because this isn't a series about them. You know, we're getting a Wakandan series, so they'll more than likely be in that. Yeah, it's, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm actually thinking that might be a Dora Milaje series. You know, that'd be fucking awesome. Cool. You know, that would be awesome. But
everyone batten the hatches. The right wings are going to explode because
oh my no,
God, series based on strong black women.
We can't have series based entirely on strong black women. No, we can't have that. Stop it. But yeah, I like.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be nice. Anyway, but yeah, I do like that the Dora Milaje, while they had like more of like an underlying presence throughout the episode and just like 2-3 scenes. I do like that, you know, how they tie into James's character, especially, and we're gonna be jumping around like we always do, but we might as well tackle James's character first and foremost because his character is the one who I'd say of all the characters in this episode, he's the one who got like, you know, maybe a little less character like than compared to everyone else, because, you know, I'd say the two big front and center characters in this episode was Zemo and John Walker, and also and also Sam and Carly were like, you know, one of the big emotional forces of the episode as well. Whereas comparatively James got not as much development throughout the episode, which I'm fine with. And I guess I'm gonna be jumping into this a little earlier than expected. There is apparently on Twitter, and I saw a little bit of this, but not like too much. But apparently it's bigger than I thought. There are some people who believe that the scene wherein Ao takes James's I don't know why I keep calling him James, Bucky. There's it's his
name, it's not wrong.
It's not wrong, but it's like, you know, Bucky. There's the scene where Ao like takes Bucky's arm off. A lot of people are calling it a case of ableism. And I'll probably have a trigger warning at the very beginning of this episode for ableism. So essentially, you know, and I could see where some people are coming from with that. I can see where some people are coming from, but I just don't think that it is a case of ableism, because a lot of people think that it's a case of, you know, of this person taking away power from a disabled person because, oh, I took away your arm, you don't have your arm anymore, and it's, you know, a lot of people just think that it's, you know, a real offensive case, like, you know, of ableism. However, I actually came prepared. There's a Twitter thread by a username by a user by the name of Fangirl Jean. I don't know what the pronunciation for that is. But there's a Twitter thread by her that I ended up finding. I'm actually gonna pull up on my phone just so I can keep an eye on Audacity, because you never know what's going to happen. Audacity's gonna fucking explode on me. But I ended up finding her thread, on Twitter, and it's I'll leave a link to it in the description below, but she kind of summarizes my thoughts on it as well. So I'm actually going to read it out for your viewing pleasures. Again, link to the thread in the description below. Go give her a follow. So the thread reads, I'm seeing tweets about a scene in this week's Falcon and Winter Soldier that aren't giving a lot of thought to the context, much less racial dynamics involved in the themes of the episode. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get started. Feel free to mute. Trigger warning, ableism. This scene in question is where Ayo, having had her fight with John Walker interrupted by Bucky, deactivates his vibranium arm and it falls to the floor. I'm actually going to continue reading this on my computer, just backtracking on that because my phone's about to die. Now this was obviously intended to be shocking on many levels, and some fans were upset. I'm not here to tell people how to feel or to say what is or isn't ableism. The MCU as a whole has done a piss poor job at depicting this ability. Can't argue there. However, using this to frame Ayo, I'm assuming that's supposed to say Shuri, and Wakanda as villains/manipulators on par with Hydra is racist. Beyond the racism, you have to ignore some pretty important context and canon to see Wakanda as the bad guys in the situation. First off, Bucky's arm isn't just a prosthetic. It's a powerful weapon given to him by Wakanda for the protection of Wakanda. Let's be clear. There is no reason. There is no reason Bucky. Apologies for using that word, by the way. Let's be clear. There's no reason Bucky couldn't be using a regular, non-superpowered prosthetic arm. His vibranium arm is not that different from Cap's shield, especially in the context of this episode. Both are made of Wakandan vibranium wielded by white men. This situation is not an abled person taking an assistive device from a disabled man. This is Ayo, a black woman, reminding Bucky, a white man, that the power he is wielding against her was given to him by her. He betrayed her trust. It's important to note that Ayo didn't take Bucky's arm, same with the shield. She ended the fight and told him, "Bust damn you, James." Those aren't the words of an enemy. She gave him 8 hours because she trusted him. Bucky took her and Wakanda for granted. The opening scene gives us important context to Ayo and Bucky's relationship, while the street scene shows how flippant Bucky is with regard to Wakanda. Ayo talks about T'Chaka having chosen her for the Dora and how Zemo represents their loss and shame. Bucky talks a lot of trash about John Walker not understanding the responsibility that comes with the shield, but this episode shows that Bucky himself is just as ignorant and irresponsible with the power given to him by Wakanda. This entire episode was about responsibility and power. Each character is being presented as having good intentions, if different approaches, but ultimately intentions don't matter. It's their actions that matter. While I agree that this episode should come with a warning, I can absolutely see how the scene could be triggering. I also think that we are long overdue for a talk about how disabled white men are still capable of wielding power under white supremacy. In summary, white people need to take a seat and really think about why they're upset when a black woman takes away a white man's power. P.S. Don't mess with Wakanda. It will not end well with you. It will not end well for you. And again, the thread will be in the description below. I completely agree with that. And it doesn't just come down to, the scene not being ableist, which I fully believe it's not. But it also ties into what I was going to talk about with Bucky's character, in that for as much trauma as they're depicting with him, as much as I, really sympathize with Bucky and all the poor man has gone through, it's really shone through at certain points of this series, and we've touched on it in previous episodes, with Sam telling Bucky that, you'll probably never understand why I chose not to take up the shield. With a lot of moments like that sprinkled across the series, it's very clear that Bucky just takes a lot of situations for granted, and it's, I think it's an interesting thing to dive into with Bucky's character, and it already ties into a lot of the pre-existing conflict in in Falcon and the Winter Soldier already, and I just think that it's great development to be, or something great to be delving into with Bucky that I hope they continue in the future, in the last 2 episodes, which I obviously think that they're gonna do, considering the fact that they set it up. What do you think, Michelle?
I lost the last sentence because my Discord derped again. What did you say at the end?
I said, what did you think, Michelle?
No, before that.
I said how, like, they'll probably tackle in the last 2 episodes, but, I think, it's a really good thing to delve into.
Okay, yes. I have a few different thoughts. The first one, and I don't want to say this as an able-bodied person necessarily, but yes, you can make the argument the MCU hasn't dealt with disabilities very well. However, in the full expanded comic universe, are there that many disabled heroes generally? Or is it just a case that they're not being represented well because they don't exist? Unfortunately,
there aren't as many disabled, comic characters than there should be. One of the big ones I can think of is Oracle, Barbara Gordon, but even then, she's more known as Batgirl, and she's also the DC. On the Marvel end of things, there's probably going to be a bunch that I'm missing and that should definitely be brought up, but unfortunately I'm not as big of a hardcore fan of the comic side. I do definitely read a lot of stuff on the comic side and I'm a fan of a lot of stuff, but I'm not as hardcore of a fan on that side as I'll probably crack myself up to be, so I wouldn't be able to name them, unfortunately, but I'm sure there are a few, but definitely not as much as there should be.
So I would sort of soft disagree on that there hasn't been enough representation, simply on the idea that these characters are, if they exist, are quite obscure. However, I would also agree that those characters maybe should be introduced. Now, the closest we have at the moment is when damn it, War Machine got injured, but by the beginning of this series, he seems like he's fully recovered. So, yes and no on that one, just because, yes, there should be more representation, but if there is the representation and source material to begin with, it's an argument for both sides there. So, pinning that, yes, there should be more representation. I agree on that part. As for fully disabling Bucky, yes, not having both your arms, that is a disability. However, twice in this series, we see Bucky first catch the shield and then catch the knife, which was brilliant. I was like, oh, good catch! With his quote-unquote good arm. With his normal, biological... I don't want to accidentally use ableist terms. With the arm that he was originally born with, but that obviously has been enhanced, and he has all the training of various different flavors. But he can still do that with his other arm, which I think is, as far as we know, Sebastian Stan is right-handed, isn't he? So he's not even like it's his dominant arm that he lost.
Yeah, I believe so.
So yeah, he hasn't lost his dominant hand. He can still do good stuff with his, impressive tricks with his, with his dominant arm, which we'll use that term because I think that is not ableist, I hope. So yeah, the other thing which is a bit more is, Bucky has lived in one way or another for over 100 years. He was... and I know he's from New York, which is more, generally speaking, more diverse, but he is still a white man who grew up in the 30s and 40s. There may be some latent, ingrained racism that he hasn't quite fully worked out yet, just because that's the time and place he grew up in. So there's definitely a lot of maybe not a lot of, but there's definitely like that underlying privilege from Bucky, like across the series, where it's essentially he
it's him not understanding why Sam wouldn't want to give up, why Sam would give up the shield, or him just taking Wakanda for granted, and betraying Ao's trust.
Yeah.
And it's stuff like that that really like interesting to delve into.
I'm not saying that,
and again,
Bucky
hope the last two
overtly
episodes
racist,
really
because
hone in on that, and
be friends with Sam. He wouldn't have been able to have these relationships in Wakanda. Whatever latent issues he has, consciously or unconsciously, he hopefully has been working on them. But it doesn't mean they weren't there at least at some point in his childhood. So.
Yeah, I also like how Jean John, apologies if I'm butchering your name, how she points out that Bucky criticizes Walker, and belittles him throughout these episodes, for not understanding the responsibility that comes with the shield, whereas Bucky himself is also ignorant and irresponsible when it comes to the power that's being given to him. Which I kind of like that, because a lot of people were debating where it's shouldn't Bucky be given the shield? But the thing is that Bucky, doesn't really have that doesn't really have that understanding, to be Captain America himself. So, and it also ties back to one of the scenes with the Flag Smashers, where one of the Flag Smashers says that these days people want a hero that looks like them. So, which is absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So, but yeah, I did like the parts with Bucky in this episode, even though he wasn't the main focus of the episode. Although having said that, why don't we move on to the Flag Smashers?
Okie dokie. Yes.
What did you think of the Flag? That's your cue, Chiaki.
Don't patronize me, pink hair. Yes, I do find them interesting. So Carly has a line about them all being in put in the same quarter and all this stuff, and if I was anywhere else I'll be raised to hate. And I'm not sure if that's a reference to the fact that she's British, and generally speaking we don't raise people to hate other societies. We try to say, look, hey, this place has problems, and unlike certain other countries America that tend to whitewash their history, we do at least acknowledge some of the crap we've done. I think it's getting better. I remember my history lessons mostly being Industrial Revolution and the wars, but if you say, hey, what about this shitty thing that happened, the teacher will probably be like, yeah, that did, and we can talk about it if you want.
I think everyone here in Australia is. I think everyone here in Australia is pretty much embarrassed to say, yeah, we lost to a bunch of emus.
Yeah. But yeah,
I just think it's fucking funny.
As a general cultural thing, British children aren't raised I don't want to name particular countries or regions or areas or whatever, but we could probably at least think of one country that we believe teaches their young to be hateful of another person's or cultures or religions or whatever. And I want to say, or at least I want to believe that as a general rule, England doesn't do that. And unless I'm missing something, the Carly is coded as British, and I'm fairly certain, I haven't actually looked into her, but I'm pretty sure the actress is British. So I don't know if she's referring to that, or the fact if she had been put in a different group, since the... See, this is the thing that confuses me. And not in a bad way, just in general, and I don't know if we're going to get another explanation, the timeline of events between Bruce bringing everyone back and where we are now with the GRC. There's stuff we still don't know what happened. We still don't know how it all happened, how people... We saw the chaos, obviously, when Monica came back. So between that point and today, what actually has happened? What is the thing? Because it seems like generally by the time we get to Far From Home, things have settled down a little bit, at least as far as the kids are concerned. I mean, the fact that you're able to have a school trip around Europe, seems to think, at least in Europe, the borders are a little bit settled down. So, were the displaced reinterred? Because were they because they say about like you can travel easier. There are more homes. There are other countries are more welcoming because if you have the skills to help build stuff, then they're going to welcome you in. All this kind of stuff, which is cool. I could see why they'd want to go back to that kind of, existence. But are they saying that basically point blank people were kicked out of their homes once everyone else came back? Because that's not cool, and I can see why they'd be upset about it. But it's still something that is confusing me because we don't know the exact timeline of events.
Yeah,
does any of that make sense?
Yeah, no. Trust me, that you were making fun enough sense there.
Oh fudge! Wait, hang on. What? Sorry. No, my bad. I had both Audacity windows open. I suddenly thought, "Fuck, have I not been recording?" But I was just
this entire time, you just thought you weren't fucking recording on Audacity.
Yeah, it's fine. I am.
I'm gonna keep that in.
Fair enough. I'll own that. It's fine.
Everybody must know that Michelle fucked up.
Technically, I didn't. I just thought I did.
Also saves me some time on some editing.
But yeah, it is. I can see from their point of view is if they thought they'd had new and stable homes and then just basically been turfed out, then that is not good, and I can understand why they'd be upset about it. But is it just they're being turfed out of the houses they were living in, or is it they were being turfed out of the countries? Because again, going back to Far From Home, May commented on being homeless because people had moved into her house, and that was it. She was shit out of luck, and that's why she had the whole charity foundation going on for the people who came back that are still homeless. So this is why I'm a bit confused about where the Flag Smashers are coming from and where the GRC fit in and the whole timeline of events. So, generally, yes, I think they have a point. But more broadly, I'm not 100% sure what the point exactly is.
I can see where you're coming from. From my point of view, I think it's more so that just the Flag Smashers, I feel like the whole point is just that, because I can't understand that, they're very wishy-washy about the certain time, certain timeline of events. But I think that that's mostly just I feel like that's mostly just in part due to those events being kind of like they kind of want to get to the main point and main crux of the actual argument. And I think the fucking call just dropped out. Yep, it just dropped out. Welcome back, Michelle. You there, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm here.
Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo! They want to get to the main point of...
but I was talking before you dropped out, Michelle.
That's what I'm saying. That's the last thing I heard was they want to get to the main point of...
Okay. Yeah, they want to get to the main point of essentially, basically the main crux of the themes of the show and such. Whereas the actual events of well, how did this transpire and how did that transpire kind of get lost into the shuffle. I'm kind of fine with that, considering the fact that we don't need to know literally every situation. All we know is, okay, so everyone got brought back and it was pure pandemonium, and borders started to get really shaky again, and I can understand just generally what they're going for here. And it's one of those things where you don't necessarily need those minor events from the timeline to be explained as much. So I'm kind of fine with it, because I think we're given as much as we need for the series. But, I think that, in general, the Flag Smashers have grown on me, because, I was very wishy-washy about them in the past two videos, because, there were certain things that, that we hadn't just seen yet. And it's very clear that, they have, more of a point to make than, initially shown, because it's not just, oh, things were better, during the blip because, less population, more resources. But it's because, I don't doubt that Carly is, fine with, the fact that like everyone who was gone has now come back. It's more so how it's affected everything in the wake. And I feel like I was zoning in too much on like, things were better like during the blip. Just like the characters were, just like how Joaquin was in the first episode. Whereas now, we've definitely seen way more of, their side. And while Carly is still very, very much, in the wrong on particular aspects of the situation, it's, as shown with her conversation with Sam, you can see way more, her point of view and how the government has basically, screwed her, the Flag Smashers, and basically a lot of fucking people around the world, just screwed them way up. And, government bad isn't exactly the most original plot in a series, but goddamn, is that, it's, the topics it's talking about here are just, not often discussed in, a Marvel property, and it's just really refreshing to see it happen, especially if we're going to go forward with a black man being Captain America, and with a lot of these, diverse characters coming into the MCU. And I don't doubt that this will be I don't doubt that this will, this won't be the end of it. How, especially considering the fact that we're seeing series like Miss Marvel come out, and a bunch of other stuff that we're going to be seeing. So it's, I think Carly, especially her actress, I don't know her actress's name, but Carly's actress, is just completely knocking it out of the park with her scenes, especially when she's talking at the funeral. It's great stuff, and it's definitely showing more, of Sam's side as well. How, just all the stuff we've been seeing up until now, just how he's been, how much he's been struggling, due to the circumstances, and also because of his race. And, he understands, the pain that all these people are going through. He just can't, agree with the means, as a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with the means. Yeah, the Flag Smashers have been really, really freaking good.
Yeah. I think it might be the case that people have travelled to different countries, and the individual countries' governments are like, yeah, we need the space back now. So maybe that's what because what did the other character call themselves in the shelter? Like, displaced person? Something like that. So I am happy to put my hands up and say I'm possibly overthinking this.
Yeah.
But it is something that I'm probably not the only person thinking it though. Like, other people are like, hang on, so what's the actual thing, and what how does that fit in with that part? So
don't worry, Michelle, there's a ton of people who worry about minuscule things that don't matter. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I have those moments like that too. As much as I like to brag that, I'm above all that, just nitpicking nonsense, I have moments like that occasionally as well. Yeah. I shouldn't judge.
Yeah.
But
yeah, overall, generally, I like them. I like the scene that she had with Sam. Well, both scenes that she had with Sam.
Yeah, it's. I was gonna say it's one of the best episodes in the series so far, but goddamn, this episode's just shooting on all cylinders with best scene contenders. Yeah. So generally, like, that's the kind of like the overarching, aspect of the episode is just, Carly and Sam's, dynamic, and like, Sam trying to reason with Carly, and him going around and seeing the damage that has been caused, especially like when he's, I forget her name, but when he's looking for, the woman that just passed away, and when he sees,
Mama Danya.
Sorry?
Mama Danya.
Yeah. And when he sees like the guy in the, when he sees the guy and he's essentially like, I know who you are, but I can't trust you. And, just the entire scene, how, like, it's just more like it. And like how he's explained to Bucky, how he's explained to Bucky that, it's not just Carly, it was the entire world just banding together and making best of the situation and, growing and moving forward. But then, everyone just came back, and it's just how it was before. And yeah, it just scenes like this are like really good, and like and that scene with Zemo, how he's just saying like, you know, Carly's, you know, she's lost at this point, whereas, you know, Sam is sticking by her, and you know, depending on the context, you know, that can fall flat for me. You know, it definitely falls flat for me in something like, say, Steven Universe. But in a situation like this, you know, the cause that Carly is going after, like, okay, let's put it like this: she's not a fucking Nazi for one thing, but the cause that she's going like, you know, after, it's, you know, it's, you know, it's logical and it makes freaking sense, and she's not trying to be actively malicious, even though at a lot of points she does say and do a lot of malicious things, you know, and Sam exposes that in this freaking episode, like when he, you know, has her say, when she makes her say, like, you know, oh, if given the possibility I could do it again, and he's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the way they've handled her character. They definitely show that, you know, she is, they definitely shown that, you know, she's crossed too many lines, but she can still be reasoned with. You know, she hasn't gotten to the point yet, keyword being yet, of, you know, being at the point where she can't be reasoned with whatsoever. It's proven in this episode that she can be reasoned with. Sam gave his reasons as to why she could be reasoned with. You know, there's a certain nuance to realize when someone just can't be reasoned with, and when someone, you know, needs to, and when someone can. Like, for example, The Last Jedi. At that point, you know, it's, you know, they after multiple attempts of trying to, you know, reason with Kylo Ren, to try and reason with Ben, it's clear that, you know, there is no saving him. Rise of Skywalker didn't happen. There is no reasoning with him. So at that point, you know, when Kylo's like, oh, I hear, so essentially at that point, when it comes to the final battle, and Kylo's like, oh, you here to apologize? You here to, like, make up for what you did? And Luke's just like, no, because at that point there's no reasoning with him anymore. He's been given a lot of chances to, you know, to change his ways, and he didn't. He's refused redemption. So at that point, you know, they gotta move on. You have to move on at that point. Whereas in this situation, you know, Carly is still still has the opportunity to, you know, to change, and that's why Sam is giving her the chance. And it's moments like this that show precisely why Sam is going to be an amazing Captain America. And, you know, yeah, it's, you know, compared to, you know, Walker and even Bucky, you know, and Bucky hasn't been, you know, this, you know, power hungry, you know, this power hungry dude. Like, you know, he's a guy dealing with trauma, but even he, you know, misuses the power that he is given. Whereas you see Sam, and even Bucky's like, even Bucky at a certain point in this episode is like, you can't really reason with Carly. Like, he allows Walker to go, you know, and arrest Carly and to, like, barge in on the situation. He allows for that situation to happen, you know. So it shows, you know, just how, you know, although he's not perfect, then again, Steve never was either. Although he's not perfect, Sam is, you know, he is a perfect candidate to be Captain America, and I love that aspect of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
Don't worry, I have the situations as well. I have the situations as well where it's just like, shit, how do I follow on from this?
I did look up the actress. Her name's Erin Kellyman, and she's been active for like only 7, 8 years, for like from 2013. She has 10 credits so far, including Solo, since she brought up Star Wars.
Oh, neat. I've barely seen a lot of Solo. I gotta watch it in its entirety.
It's not terrible. If you take it as a sort of fun romp on its own sake, it's alright. Was it a necessary prequel? Probably not.
I hear a lot of people just say, you know, it wasn't necessary in the slightest, but it was fun for what it is, which is, you know, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking comparative to other standalone side movies, it's more fun than Rogue One. Yeah, mostly. Because she has Carly is actually quite a well nuanced character, because like even when she calls Sarah and you think, oh, is this gonna get real? And she does make a low level threat towards Sarah and the boys. But
yeah, it's a big enough threat to where, you know, Sam does get pissed at it, like anyone would get pissed at it. You know, but it's also very clear that Carly wasn't gonna do jack shit. It's one of those kinds where it's like, you obviously have to take initiative because like anyone would be pissed at, like, you know, a threat against your family. But also it's very clear that, you know, Carly, you know, isn't big enough to like actually do anything like that. But again, she did make the threat. So
I know this information. Yeah. I think it's more of a case of, I know this stuff. I can find you if she wants to.
Yeah.
But I also like, it's like she has the conversation. She listens to Sarah. She's like, "Huh, I like you. You make interesting points. You know, maybe we can have a drink." Well, I shouldn't say it, but like, you know, it's the sort of thing like, if things, you know, assuming Carly's still alive and well by the end of the story, you know, maybe at some point after she's like served whatever time is deemed necessary for her, that then she can go and, you know, maybe follow up on that conversation. Say, look, you know, we can go meet someone very public. Well, I just want to shake your hand or whatever, just for listening to me and not freaking out, or whatever. You know,
maybe, but I also don't think. But I also don't think Sarah really wants to talk after, you know, her kids were threatened.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair enough. But it's more the fact of like, I respect you enough to say, you know what, your points are interesting, and I am taking them on board, and your opinion, I'm listening to your opinion, and saying, yeah, all right, I can see where you're coming from. So they're never going to be besties and plaiting each other's hair, but at least there's a mutual respect there. That's like, at least from Carly's point of view, it's like, yeah, all right, thank you. You've helped me clear some thoughts in my head. And then she has that line in the second meeting with Sharon, which is like, I like you. You don't hide behind a shield. Smash cut to. Is this a good segue to talk about John Walker now?
Well, before we talk about John Walker, because I want to save John Walker till the end. Because we've talked about Bucky, we've talked about the Dora Milaje, we've talked about Carly, we've talked about Sam, we've talked about the Flag Smashers, talked about all that. God, the series just has a lot of fucking good antagonists. I think the only thing, the only other two big points to talk about are Zemo and John Walker. Before we talk about the two of them, I'd say that going into like what I was gonna say before, I'd say the only thing that, like, you know, the only thing I don't really care for as of right now, you know, aside from Sharon, Sharon's fine. I'm fine with Sharon. It's just that, you know, her reasoning for not really for holding a grudge against Sam, which is kind of dropped in this episode. Even it's kind of like not even like shown in this episode.
Yeah.
But it's you know, it's kind of wonky, but I'm fine with it. It's whatever. She's fine.
She's definitely got her own agenda going on.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see more of that. I'll get to that more in a second. But it's essentially it ties into like this point where I don't really care about the power broker right now. Which, granted, like they're like downplaying it as in, like, you know, it's the C or D plot. It's, you know, it's in the background as of right now, which is fine. It's all fine. It's all good. It's just that, you know, it kind of highlights my only problem with the series, my only like consistent problem with the series, where it's like I feel like there's a little bit too much going on. I feel like having a lot going on is fine, and, you know, because a lot of the stuff is integral, you know, stuff with Bucky, stuff with the Dora Milaje, Sam, the Flag Smashers, Zemo, you know, John Walker. All of this stuff is important, and they all come back to the same general thing. It's just that I feel like there's just a little bit too much stuff going on here. Like, I think the stuff with Sharon, unless, I'll put a pin in that, because we have to come back to that, because again, seems like she has her own agenda. We'll just have to see. Even the stuff with Sharon seems to like fit in decently with everything else that's going on. But even still, like, that could probably be like cut and saved for something in the future. But the stuff with the power broker, I don't know how much they're going to delve into that is the thing, because it seems like the rest of the series is just going to be on John Walker. I hope the rest of the series focuses on him as an antagonist. But it's, you know, yeah, so it's like, I don't know, if they just have this power broker stuff here to like set him up, I don't know if they really should have like poked that bear as much as they should. Like maybe they could have just like shoved it like, you know, a little more towards the end and mentioned how like, you know, oh, you know, Carly was doing this and like, you know, I don't know. I feel like they could have downplayed some of these elements because at times they can feel like there's a little too much going on, but it's not something that I'll put my hands up and say that this might be an issue that's like, you know, resolved by the end of the series, both depending on how they handle this stuff in the last 2 episodes and also depending on where this, you know, just depending on where this stuff goes and also, you know, how it all transpires because, you know, because otherwise I think that, you know, there's a little too much going on, but also there's just the fact that, you know, it's not too much of a hindrance. It's only a hindrance at just like a few brief points and then it just gets right back on track. It's because like a lot, because most of the elements in here, although it's still a lot of elements, they all tie into one another and they feel natural and complement one another. So yeah, it's my only flaw so far, but it's like also not that big of a flaw, you know?
Yeah. I think listening to what you're saying is the Power Broker at this point feels like a MacGuffin. We needed Carly and the Flag Smashers to be, if you sort of work it backwards, we needed them to be super soldiers. Okay, so how do we get them to be super soldiers? Well, what if there was another person working on the serum? Alright, cool. So how does he come in? Oh, well, what if he was already working on it, but then he got blipped? Okay, so then what? Well, maybe he needs someone to finance him. Okay, so who are we going to do? Well, there's this guy in the comics called the Power Broker that might fit the bill.
Yeah, it definitely, it definitely feels like a lot of setup for like to get us to this point, which is fine. But the thing is that they've kept bringing up the Power Broker even past that, or I'm like, I doubt that they're gonna do much with him by the end of the series. Again, hands up, could be wrong about that, but you know, if they're not gonna do much with him in the series in general, I feel like constantly bringing him up isn't, you know, because now I'm expecting either they show him and they, you know, do something with him in the last 2 episodes, or
this is the Luke Skywalker cameo. They got the wrong series.
And either they do something with him, which I feel like we already have enough on our plates to handle to deal with in this last 2 episodes that like maybe he just doesn't fit. And if they don't, then you know why talk about it as much as you did. Just the same for the future. Yeah. I feel like you could just do that more so at the end, you know, with like with fewer scenes. But otherwise, I'm fine with it. It's just a little thing in general. But let's talk about the 2 big stars of the show. Let's talk about, first of all, Zemo. What did you think of Zemo?
I love Zemo. I did have a secondary thought about Power Broker though, which is more of a general thought and philosophy I have. Well, it's not just a philosophy I have, it's an actual fact. Like, nothing happens in isolation. We're having this conversation now, and how many other billions of individual actions are happening around the world?
That's fair.
So the idea of having a story that is quite densely packed, in this small universe of these 6 episodes, it appears like there's a lot going on all at the same time that are tying into each other. But what else is going on around the world that is, you know, as you go out on the ripples, like, well, that's slightly tangential, but we don't need to talk about it, and that's still kind of connected, but even further away. So it's like, yes, it's just kind of the point I was going to make about WandaVision as well. People complaining about, why were there 2 villains? Why not? Why wouldn't you have 2 people with their own agendas? Yeah, Walker's got his agenda, Power Broker's got their agenda, the Flag Smashers, whilst tangentially connected to the Power Broker, have their own thing, because they're connected to him, but they're not obviously working for him. Sharon's got her own thing going on. There's a theory that she might actually be the Power Broker. I don't really subscribe, but it's a theory that's going around. So yes, I
think that's actually the theory that Zem brought up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, possibly. I've seen it a few places.
Yeah.
So yeah, yes, it's a lot happening. But think about your life. Like, think about when you're in school, you're in your class, and just in your circle of your group of people, how many things have they got going on in their lives? Like, yeah, sure, at that moment you're all in the same classroom listening to the same teacher, but you don't know what they're thinking in their own heads or what they're planning to do for lunch or whatever. And just even in the microcosms of life, shit's happening all around you.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of, oh, this show's densely packed, is like, that's not unrealistic, though.
I could see your point.
Yeah.
Moving on to Zemo, what do you think of Zemo?
Yes. I love Zemo. He is so... I actually made a point of rewatching Civil War last week.
Oh, nice.
And it's better than you remember. Like, that fight scene at the airport is like, holy shit! I love Peter. Like, I mean, I love Peter anyway, but like the way he's like, even with the bad guys, he's just so sweet and endearing and like so enthusiastic. And I kind of want, because like he's like, yeah, the Medal of Honor, that's so cool. I want him to have another scene with Bucky.
I could see why some people rank it lower, but personally, Civil War is still one of my tops. It's still probably my second favorite next to Guardians 2. I love Civil War. I just think a lot of elements about that film work so well. And I actually disagree with a lot of people like who bring up, because a lot of people will bring up like certain things that they think that really work too well about the movie. Personally, I love a lot of aspects about Civil War, and and I'll defend it from some of the shit it gets. Even some of the shit it gets, then it's still one of the higher rated MCU movies. There we go, said it right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like Dark World or anything. But yeah, so generally, it was good, and if you are listening to this and haven't rewatched Civil War in a while, it's worth it. Go back and have a watch, and it'll sort of fill in the gaps you might have been like, hang on to. A couple of things. One, well, actually, I'm going to do the other way around. So two, it kind of made me sad that we're not going to get another scene between Zemo and T'Challa, because oh my god, that scene was amazing.
Yeah, that
was so beautiful. So that was. I'm glad we got it, but it's like we're not going to get that again. There's going to be no follow up now. Which,
unfortunately,
makes me sad.
That's just one of those things that we lose with Chadwick Boseman having passed away. May you rest in peace.
Yeah. Rest in power, my brother. But the other thing was that when they're talking about Zemo, they are just talking about him as his military career, and don't we sort of mentioned them, It's been a while since I've seen Ultron, so I don't remember if Sokovia having a royal family was ever brought up at any point in that sense. But Zemo specifically is not mentioned as being, any kind of, upper. He's just a soldier.
Yeah, I feel like
clever man.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that they just retroactively added, which is not a bad thing. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, they didn't bring this up in Civil War." Yeah, who cares? It just makes his character better.
But given the context of that what they were looking at is his military career. Now, you could make the argument it's like, oh, he had a military career and is a member of the royal family, like the British royal family. Almost all of them have had some kind of service, even certainly in the senior royals, like even some of the females, like the Queen definitely has, she did her part during the war. So yeah, the idea of royalty also being part of the military, that's not even a weird concept.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, was that necessary information in that moment when Friday was giving Tony all the information? Not really.
Yeah.
So, on the one hand, they didn't mention it. On the other hand, did they need to? So
I just love Zemo in this episode and how he, fuels the whole idea that basically everyone's telling Sam at this point. Bucky's telling him, Walker's telling him, and of course Zemo's telling him how, Carly is too far gone. You can't reason with her, but that's, but a large part of that is because just in general, Zemo doesn't trust superpowered individuals, particularly super soldiers. And yeah, it's I definitely, I definitely love just every scene that we get of Zemo in this series. It keeps striking gold with him. And I'm praying that they don't fucking kill him. Like, there's still that chance.
No.
There's still that chance at the back of my head that's just lingering. That's just making me go like, okay, we've introduced the Wakandans into the series. And we have all this stuff that's being introduced, and it's like, it's a possibility, man. They could absolutely kill Zemo. But I hope they don't. I really, really hope they don't. I love Zemo. I want them to keep him.
Yeah. I actually looked up Daniel Brawl probably. He's actually born in Spain. He is Spanish-German. But I think he speaks like 4 or 5 languages, like obviously German, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and understands Catalan according to his wiki. So, dude's talented. But also, he's 42 now. He's got one of those faces that when he's 50, people are going to forget that he's 50. He's
just like Paul Rudd
it for years. I know, right?
Yeah. Cannot believe that man is as old as he is. Holy shit.
How old is he again?
He's like I forget the exact age, but he's like definitely in his 50s. Like, he was in fucking Halloween 6. That's an old ass movie.
Yeah. I always forget he was in Friends as well until I'm rewatching it. It's like, oh shit, yeah. He's Mike. Which plays havoc with the my fun theory of because obviously Jon Favreau was also in Friends, and like, you could just sort of hand wave and say, well, actually, you know what? Jon Favreau, like, his character, Happy is the same character from Friends, Peter, who was a independent millionaire, but because he got into ultimate fighting, and maybe he's got a really bad concussion, and maybe like Tony knew him from back in their early tech war days, and like took sympathy on him, like, so there could be it's a stupid fun to play in my head, but then you add in Mike. And it's like, gotta add fucking Friends and freaking Multiverse of Madness. I would love that. I would be sitting there giggling my fucking ass off, punching in the air. That would be amazing. But no, it's just silly thoughts in my own head. Yeah. It's just my own silly headcanon because it's fun. But yeah, Zemo good. Zemo good. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I love the conversations he was having, and when he was saying about, super soldiers being inherently bad, and concedes the point that Steve wasn't bad. He is a good person. Yeah, he even acknowledges that, like, Steve wasn't, like, that he was a good man, but, like, that there was only one Steve Rogers, whereas a lot of people, that have come since that are also super soldiers, just aren't. A lot of them have just come and shown themselves to, to let power go to their head, or, not for lack of a better term, not be another Steve Rogers. We see that with Walker, and to an extent, we see that with Bucky. I was about to say Bucky, kind of, because it's more of a grey one, because he does kind of have that. I don't know if arrogance is the right word, but he does have that, he has privilege, even whether or not he is fully aware of it. He does have a certain amount of privilege. Yeah, it's basically ignorance. He's ignorant to his privilege and how he misuses his power, essentially. But I wouldn't say that he's been corrupted by it. I mean, he's been corrupted by it. No, he hasn't. And he wants to try and get back to... Yeah. So I would say Bucky falls more into the grey, but closer to Steve than, other characters. Yeah. Because even then, with the Flag Smashers, they have an agenda, but they don't seem inherently cracked or evil or corrupt outside of their own agenda. Yeah. I also just love the scene I also just love the scene of Zemo giving the candy to the kids. And it's just like, initially I was just like, oh, this is kind of having a creepy vibe. But then he was actually like, pretty nice to the kids. He was like, giving them the candy and saying, hey, you see those 2 bad men over there? Yeah, don't tell them shit,
He's smart.
Is,
He's definitely smart.
I don't know, again, with fitting in with this place thing, because all this is taking place in Riga, Romania. Zemo, obviously, because I haven't really watched some of like Rush or Fifth Estate in a while, so I'm not sure how much Daniel has shifted his naturally German Spanish accent, you know, to be a slightly more, you know, because he's obviously from another foreign country in Middle Eastern Europe, but he has an accent as opposed to these two American people are walking around. So I don't know how much of that played into the idea, oh, this person's also... Because he is displaced. His country no longer exists.
Yeah.
Whether or not the children understood that or recognised his accent, that's questionable. But he is actually displaced.
Yeah.
So...
But I think
there is that aspect to it. So...
I'd say that's probably like all we'd say on Zemo, because we have definitely gone past an hour at this point, and I really want to talk about John Walker just so we could wrap it all up. But not just so we could wrap it all up, but also because hot damn John Walker. Yes,
but also one final point on Zemo, his reaction to the fight, classic.
Oh yeah, fucking just like I'ma just head out.
Yep. I'm gonna let these people get on. Yeah, but oh my god. So
that ending of the episode, probably the best fucking ending up until now, but also, Jesus Christ, the most disturbing. I think it's, honest to God, maybe the most disturbing scene in the MCU. I mean, look, the snap is...
Possibly.
Sorry?
I was gonna say quite possibly, yes.
Yeah, because, like, look, the snap is also disturbing, but it's also, like, very, you know... Okay, everyone's dusting away, and you know, it very much ties into, like, you know, the mystical MCU side, you know, or the fantastical MCU side of the MCU, I guess I should say. But like, you know, and it's definitely like, you know, a very impactful scene. But like this one is just like fucking so it feels real, because like, yeah, it's a guy jacked up on super soldier serum, but like even still, it's, you know, it's this guy who the government handpicked to be the new Captain America. You know, he's the government's Captain America, and he's here with that fucking shield, just smashing it down, decapitating. I'll shut up now. But it's, you know, it's him taking that shield and just outright killing someone in public, and then putting it on, and it's just like, damn, if that's not just the perfect... If that shot of him with the bloodied up shield isn't just the perfect summary of just, you know, the themes in general in this series, I don't know what is. But it's not just that about John's character. It's just that, you know, just him throughout the episode, just seeing him go further into, like, you know, that dark place that, you know, we already know that he's capable of. We see in this episode, like, you know, he talks about those medals of honor he got. That he and Lamar got, and you know how, you know, it just reminds him of like the worst day of his life, and how he needs to, and how in Afghanistan they needed to do some real shitty stuff, you know, to survive, and it's definitely, you know, it definitely adds that, you know, like, okay, this isn't just stuff that, you know, materialized out of nowhere for Walker. You know, it's not just stuff that, you know, materialized because of the Captain America mantle being passed on to him, even though it definitely boosted this, like, you know, this aspect of his character. It's, you know, this has always been there inside of him, and now that he's being given that responsibility of Captain America, you know, he wants to do something that feels right. But that's exactly the problem. This feels right to him because it's all he's ever known. And, you know, and being Captain America, you know, to an extent, he feels, you know, undermines, you know, the rough stuff that he has to do in order to do good things. Where, you know, but as we see in both episode 3 and in this episode, it's not exactly the case. You know, he just, you know, and we definitely see by the end of the episode when Lamar dies, which I've heard conflicting things about that. Some people are fine with it. Some people, you know, were kind of, you know, some people just really, were upset by it, and I get it. It's, it's a black character dying for a white character. I feel like the saving grace of it is that, this white character's development is going to be, it's led him to be a villain, and not so much it's a sob story. So what comes after this isn't supposed to be like a sob story of like, oh, what was me? What am I going to do now that my black friend, who could have had stories of his own, has now just suddenly died? It's more so, it serves a bigger purpose than just that. But even then, I could still see why some people are put off by it. But like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like completely fine with it or not, but like I'm more fine with it than like, say, other characters, especially within comic books, But yeah, it's otherwise the way that they've handled John Walker in this series is just terrific, and that final scene, quite possibly, the most disturbing MCU scene ever, but also probably the best scene in this series up until now. It's just, I rewatched that scene like immediately as it happened. Like, I was just like, this is so damn good. Like, it's so disturbing. I was like actively disturbed, but like once the moment like had finished, and like as it was settling in through, like with the credits, which had new music, I was just like, God, this series is so fucking good.
That final pose, as far as you're aware, is that an allusion to an issue or a panel or a cover? Because obviously, like the scene again, going back to Civil War with Tony and Steve with the shield, the beam and the shield. That moment is obviously an allusion to the Civil War cover, but that framing with him holding the shield, is that,
as far as I'm aware, that's not an allusion to anything other than like a kind of like Captain America pose that he would that Cap would usually make, like the kind of you would usually see like on something like, say, like the first Avengers poster, how he's like standing in kind of a similar pose. I feel like it's just kind of like a Captain America-esque pose, only he's standing there with the bloodied up shield. And with the context of what just happened, it's like, yeah, you're not Captain America. You are the polar opposite of Captain America.
Because the series, like both series, like have had quite clever titling. But this one is literally titled "The World Is Watching," or "The Whole World Is Watching." It's like, yeah, they are, because they actually have him being recognised earlier in the episode, sort of signing things, and I like Lamar's joke about like, hey, I do a whole Battlestar thing in my autographs, which is quite a cute thing. And got the other people just taking pictures, like when they were going to the funeral and someone notices them, like someone else sort of whips out their camera. So yeah, he is very much, and that's how I can understand. I academically understand the thing of like, you're suddenly thrust into the limelight. You're not necessarily going to be able to handle it well, but it's like, I know. Sorry, I'm going to go real world stuff, and I know you probably can't answer these questions. I know that you, generally speaking, as a rule, I think every army, well, at least most Western armies. Sorry if that sounds a bit, but. That there is a psychological test that you have to do before they let you sign up, or like that you go further. Is there like interim tests, like appraisals, or because I know they can offer counselling if you've went through a particularly dodgy situation, but do they like redo the psych profiles?
I'm not sure.
Maybe they should.
Not sure about that. Yeah, it's definitely like Walker. It's like, and I can understand the position he's in. But like, also, I know that a lot of other people, if in the same position as Walker, they wouldn't do this, like some of this stuff that Walker is doing. And if they did, then they would at least, have the they'd at least like, realize that, oh shit, what I'm doing is wrong. And maybe John will too, but like from what it seems like, he absolutely thinks that like what he's doing is fine,
Yeah. I wanted to sort of sidebar very quickly. Is I heard from one of the other servers that Wyatt Russell is getting shit up to and including death threats. Don't fucking do that.
Jesus fucking Christ, people. Ugh. I hate fucking comic book fans. I hate comic book fans so fucking much. I swear to fucking God. Like, unless the actual person themselves did something fucking wrong, like fucking Gina Carano or whatever, don't give shit to the actors because of the character. God damn.
Yeah, let me just find the quote that someone mentioned, because I made the point of... Maybe it's spoilers. I made the point of, if you don't like the character, that means the actor's doing their job.
Yeah,
it's a good thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
But someone else says like
he's doing such a good job at the character, like portraying him. He's doing he is not getting the credit he deserves for like really bringing the character to life. Like, yeah, is he detestable? Absolutely, he's detestable. But like that just means that Wyatt Russell's doing his goddamn job, and he's doing it really well.
Sorry, yeah. So my comment of like, so basically Jeff was like, oh, agreed, hate the character all you want, but leave the actor out of it. And then and I said like, you can hate the character, but that means the actor's doing their job. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, actors are when it comes to making a story, the actors, like, even if the story is shit, the actors are the last person, like the last person that you should be giving shit for it, unless they're like a writer or whatever. But even still, don't fucking send death threats, idiots. Like,
I don't know much about Wyatt's previous career, but knowing who his parents are, hopefully they've given him a reasonable grounding on like shit that, you know, fans can do.
Mm-hmm.
That, not that I'm aware of Goldie or Russell actually having to deal with that kind of shit themselves, but they're at least aware of the Hollywood machine.
Yeah.
But so, no, don't do that. But,
yeah, do not do that.
But we're stepping back a little, like, to his arrogance and stuff, like, so we've obviously touched on the Dora Milaje quite a bit. That fight scene in Zemo's apartment was amazing, but the lead up to it as well, like them coming in and you don't know they're there, and John Walker basically standing there saying, "You have no authority here," and I was like, "The Dora Milaje have authority wherever the Dora Milaje are." Hang on a second, where are you? Oh yeah, you're in Riga, Romania. What fucking authority do you have, John? Yeah,
it's like fucking... Yeah, it's just him trying to force his authority, like, and just him forcing his authority on, like, on everything, because, you know, hey, shouldn't Captain America do that? No, he shouldn't, but, like, you know, like, he would know that.
Also, I mean, I don't know, I say, I don't know this is intentional, but I don't know how it could not have been intentional. We are talking about if I'm remembering the scene correctly, he is actually taller than her, broader than her, white American man saying to this black African woman, step off. Or basically saying, oh, I have authority here. Yeah. And like, no you don't.
Like, he may not be a bigot in this version, but he still has a lot of fucking unchecked privilege.
Yeah. But I have to give credit to Seraphim. I'm gonna make sure I get the quote correct, because what they said was actually kind of funny. Come on, where are you, Seraphim? That's the trouble when you're going through...
Just a bunch of Discord, like, yeah, just the trouble going through a bunch of fucking Discord messages. While you're
especially because they're all spoiler blocked.
Yeah, okay, so while you're looking for that, I'll just kind of...
Here it is. I found it.
Go ahead.
I found it because I actually I put a smile like on it. Gee, Walker, it's almost like when the guys who went up against nearly every major threat in the world has dealt with in this past decade tells you not to fight someone. They know what they're talking about, dumbass.
Yeah. Yep. But in general, just kind of ramping up our thoughts on John Walker. Just MVP of the episode, but not in like the oh you're great, more in the oh you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it's my focus is mission accomplished. My focus is all on John Walker now. It's like, you know, I can't wait to see where they go with him and how he connects back to, you know, Bucky and Sam. It's can't wait for the rest of that, and I can't wait to see Sam kick his ass and take that mantle back.
Yeah, because it's like, where can they go from here? Because like he is surrounded. Like, we saw Carly slip into the crowd, and that's fair enough. She should do. But we don't know where the rest of her people are. So we've got at least, from her team, 6 other super soldiers there, plus Bucky. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to have an all-out brawl in the middle of the street with all those people around, but potentially you have at least 7 other people as strong as John that could take him down if necessary.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's how it's going to play out.
I definitely feel like we're going to get to a situation where he's going to have that shield taken away from him, like Sam's going to take it. Because in all the trailers we see, like, you know, we in all the trailers we see those shots of, you know, Sam using the shield in, like, you know, in that forest. Don't know when that takes place. That may actually take place at the very fucking end of the series. But I have a feeling like they're gonna take the shield away. Then we're gonna cut to them, you know, just hiding out, and then they're gonna go in for one last battle, and that may be when Sam officially fully takes up the mantle. Although that may be at the very, very, very end of the series. We'll just have to see.
Which I don't think I'd be angry at, because, like, you know, that is your good ending stinger is like Sam in the new outfit. The way I see it, that scene's gonna play out couple of different ways. Either John is going to accept being arrested because he did literally kill someone in the middle of the street in a place where he has no jurisdiction, or he's going to resist arrest, or he's going to run away before he gets a chance, or, like I said, he's going to get piled on by the other enhanced. I don't know, and I don't know which one I'd prefer. I think instinctively, I think he's going to run first, or he's going to want to try and run first. Yeah,
he would definitely be.
There's a moment where he notices.
I know I keep mentioning how Zemo would be like, you know, a good leader for you know, one of the for an all villains team. You know, US Agent would also fit really well into there as well. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But this has gone. This has gone very long. So why don't we wrap up our thoughts of the episode? I'll let you go first, Michelle, and then I'll give my thoughts, and then we'll conclude.
Well, I was just gonna sort of give so most everyone else is in the square. Carly's in the square. The boys are in the square. John's in the square. Lamar's dead. There's a theory that maybe he's not dead, but
we'll see. I wouldn't mind if I wouldn't mind if they had him be like in a coma or whatever.
Yeah, the Dora Milaje, they eat themselves out there. We're not sure where they are. I don't know if they're a million miles away, but I don't think they're going to play into the next episode immediately. I don't know where Zemo
I feel like we're going to see them like one more time, like to wrap up anything with Zemo.
Yeah, we're going to see them again, but at this point, I think they're not going to be focused. And then obviously Zemo. Maybe he's making his way to Sokovia, because we do see him at the memorial. I don't know if he's like kept himself close by just to see what's happening before moving on, or. But yeah, so he's status unknown. Sharon's got her own thing going on, but she's obviously still in Metropol.
Yep.
Yeah, this was a really good episode. There was stuff happening, but it was all good stuff. Lots of really good character moments. Lots of really nice dialogue. I like dialogue scenes. I don't write very often, but when I do, it's almost always just dialogue.
Yeah.
Like I've written stories that I haven't actually finished yet, but I had a whole bunch of setup, which was, I'm aware it needs editing. It was very waffly setup, but literally because I want to set up a particular conversation, which I still haven't actually written yet. This is one of my other fandoms. It's not important for this, but it's like, I love dialogue. And this episode had some amazing dialogue, some amazing moments, like the because someone said like Zemo having like a latent racism, but honestly, he has very good conversation to Sam. So even if he does maybe have some latent, because someone said his butler definitely does, he at least can respect him as an intelligent man who has an opinion on the thing they're talking about, and he's not dismissing him. And he even gave him begrudging respect when he's like, well, I don't actually no, it wasn't even begrudging. So he was like, "Would you take the super soldier serum?" And Sam's like, "No." It was a good answer. Okay, yes, there was one point I wanted to make. When they're in the basement area, like, so Zemo's smashing all the vials, which is good. It's consistent in his character. It's like there was a brief moment. It's like, is he gonna like keep one just to? But no, he smashed them all. Obviously, he got knocked out. One got lost. That's how John got jacked up. John knocks him out. Sam and Bucky come back in and say, "What do we miss?" And then we cut to them being in the apartment. Didn't John want to arrest Zemo? Did we miss something? Am I wrong there?
I feel like they just kind of put that on, like they just put that on pause, just so Walker could go out and look for Carly. With that being said, as if it wasn't obvious by the length of this video and just how much we've been talking about it, I loved this episode. I thought it was really fucking good. I hope the other two can live up to it and just give a satisfying conclusion to this entire goddamn series, which has been just really, really fucking good. Really good series. And I mentioned this to Zen, it's like, if the rest of Phase 4 can get to the heights of WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, then we're in for a good time. We're in for a really, really good fucking time.
Generally speaking, with the TV series as well, I mean, you see it with the movies as thing, but the TV can actually explore it more. It's okay to have things be different genres. Obviously, with WandaVision, it was like this weird TV fantasy, WTF, Twilight Zone kind of thing. Like, what is actually happening there is ultimately a allegory for grief. This is just straight up action adventure, espionage kind of stuff. Loki's going to be, who knows what's happening there, but it looks amazing.
Time
and
adventure.
Then you're going to have then you're going to have the more grounded teen stuff with Ms. Marvel. You're going to have some others. So you can, within the same universe, have all this other stuff happening because, again, life.
Yeah, just different stuff happens around the world all the goddamn time.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, like I said, I am looking forward to the rest of it. Is it possible that there might be a series or a show that comes up that I'm going to be less enthusiastic about? Probably. It's bound to happen. You can't be top tier enthusiastic about everything. But even... I'm not going to name any other particular franchise or anything in particular, because generally speaking, if something doesn't interest me, like if I watched a couple of trailers and think, it's not pinging with me, I don't watch it. I'm not going to engage talking. I try not to talk about stuff that I haven't personally experienced. But generally, it seems like even the lowest of MCU is better than some of the highest of some other stuff.
Yeah,
in my
absolutely.
opinion.
But with that being said, I'm going to call that a wrap for this episode, because goddamn, we went longer than I was expected. No thanks. No thanks in part. Thanks to no thanks in part with technical issues happening. Some of which I'm going to leave in. Others I'm not. So yeah. With that being said, we'll definitely be back next week with episode 5. Because at this point Michelle's just in it for the long haul. Next week's episode may be a little bit late because I got some assessments to do for school, but otherwise, I still have all intentions of releasing it before episode 6 comes out. So, yeah.
Yeah. But schoolwork comes first.
Yep, absolutely. But with that being said, guys, thank you for watching all the way till the end of the video. If you have, unless you're skipping, I hate you. No. But with that being said, my name is Philip.
And I'm Michelle.
And we will both see you next week for episode 5, the penultimate episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Take care, everyone.
Bye!